Thoth is often associated with the Hermetic tradition, which is a set of esoteric beliefs that originated in ancient Greece and Egypt. The Hermetic tradition is based on the writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a mythical figure who embodies the fusion of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. This tradition emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things and the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment through the study of natural phenomena.
Hermes Trismegistus may be associated with the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. Consequently, the two gods were worshipped as one in what had once been the temple of Thoth. Hermes, the Greek god, was combined with Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, to become the patron of astrology and alchemy. In addition, both gods were guiding souls to the afterlife. The Hermetic teachings are found in all lands and all religions. Their appeal is universal. In early days, there was a compilation of certain basic Hermetic maxims, axioms, and precepts, which were passed down from teacher to student, which is called the Kabbalion. The Hermetic literature among the Egyptians was the oldest Hellenistic writings on Greco-Babylonian astrology and also the developed practice of alchemy. In tradition, Hermetic philosophy rationalized and systemized religious practices and explained personal ascension of the physical being.
Throughout occult practices of the world, there is a philosophy that is common within every system of initiation. Sometimes called the perennial philosophy, this tradition of mystic wisdom is preserved in Freemasonry. This philosophy is said to originate with Hermes, founder of commerce, mathematics, agriculture, and the civilizing arts. It is known today as Hermeticism, and its 7 principles provide the framework for all esoteric thought. Here are the 7 principles upon which Hermetic philosophy rests. The first Hermetic principle is that of mentalism, which holds that all is mind, that what we call reality is composed of mental energy and is created by an all-encompassing universal mind. This principle states that the material realm proceeds from mental states and that matter is a product of mind. The second Hermetic principle is that of correspondence, from which derives the infamous occult axiom, as above, so below. This principle reminds us that the nature of the universe is fractal, and that the same fundamental principles are at work no matter how large or small the system we are observing is. The third Hermetic principle, vibration, describes all aspects of the universe, both material and energetic, as being vibratory in nature. It shows us that the universe is constantly in motion, that it is alive, breathing, and flowing, and not a static clockwork mechanism. The fourth Hermetic principle, the principle of polarity, describes the dual nature of all phenomena. Everything that exists has an opposite, a dual nature that can hold the key to the mystery of its existence. The principle of polarity teaches us that by finding the center point between the extremities of the poles, we can approach true wisdom. The fifth Hermetic principle of rhythm reveals the cyclical nature of the movement of the universe. In everything can be found the rhythm of nature, flowing in and flowing out again, a universal heartbeat that drives all life forward. The sixth Hermetic principle, cause and effect, describes the great chain of causality, the progression of events in the universe from the beginning of time stretching into the unknown darkness of the future. This principle also destroys the idea of chance and randomness, as all events are linked to all other events in this unbreakable chain of being. The seventh and final Hermetic principle of gender does not refer to the physical meaning of the word, but instead reveals that within all things there is some measure of the feminine and some amount of the masculine in varying degrees. These two forces are not merely the origins of sexual desire, but are the creative forces that give rise to all things throughout the universe.
I am reading from the New World Encyclopedia about Hermeticism. Hermeticism is a set of philosophical and religious beliefs based primarily upon the writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a syncretic amalgamation of Hermes and Thoth. The movement is generally traced to Alexandria in the first centuries of the Common Era, where it unified elements of Jewish and Christian mysticism with Hellenistic philosophy and Egyptian occultic beliefs. Pause. Nothing's changed. Unpause. The resulting composite tradition proved to be both persuasive and perdurable, as it proved compelling to both Muslim scholars and early Middle Ages and European intellectuals at the dawn of the Renaissance. In particular, the notion that the universe operated based on orderly principles, in this case, represented as cosmic vibrations in the substance of the all, was instrumental not only to Western occultism, but also to the development of the modern scientific method. This connection can be seen most clearly in the hermetical and alchemical treatises written by some of the most influential thinkers of their respective eras, including Giordano Bruno, John Dee, Francis Bacon, and Isaac Newton. And here's the Hermetic Library, archiving, engaging, and encouraging the living esoteric tradition, Hermeticism, Aleister Crowley's Thelema, and much more. Open access occultism for 25 years.
It is this context in the first few centuries of the Common Era that produced the texts of the Corpus Hermeticum as we know them. The combination of Hermes and Thoth was a natural fit, and the epithet, thrice great, seems to have an ancient Egyptian pedigree. The philosophical Hermetica are typically structured as discourses between Hermes and his pupils, though Corpus Hermeticum I is taken to be a discourse between divine nous, or mind, and Hermes Trismegistus himself. The content of the discourses range enormously despite their relative brevity, from the nature of the cosmos to the origin and nature of evil, to the process of change, the nature of the mind and the soul, the very origins of the cosmos itself, and very origins of the cosmos itself, and very origins of the cosmos itself, and
I thought this was really interesting. This is the creation legend of Hermeticism. It says, "The elements of nature arose from the counsel of God, which having taken in the word and having seen the beautiful cosmos, imitated it, having become a cosmos through its own elements and its progeny of souls. The mind who is God, being androgyne, and existing as life and light by speaking, gave birth to a second mind, a craftsman, who as God of fire and spirit crafted 7 governors. They encompass the sensible world in circles, like spheres, 7 spheres. And their government is called fate." Okay, so what I get out of this is God was androgyne, and by speaking gave birth to a second mind, which crafted 7 governors that encompass the world in spheres. I'm going to skip down. The supreme nous, which is God, then created man, androgynous, in his own image, and handed over all his creation. Man, androgynous, in his own image, and handed over his creation. Man carefully observed the creation of his brother, the lesser nous, and received his father's authority over it all. Man then rose up above the spheres' paths to a better view of the creation, and then showed the form of the all to nature. Nature fell in love with it, and man, seeing a similar form of his own, reflecting in the water, fell in love with nature and wished to dwell in it. Immediately man became one with nature and became a slave to its limitations, such as gender and sleep. Man thus became speechless, for it lost the word, and became double, being mortal in body, but immortal in spirit, having authority of all, but subject to destiny. I know, that's a bunch of
gobbledygook.
But we can see there is in Hermeticism, which is at the base of many secret societies, like Freemasonry, that have a creation story where God is androgynous and creates man androgynous, both male and female in one body. And now here's a Kenneth Copeland quote. Adam was made in the image of God. He was as much female as he was male. He was exactly like God. Then God separated him and removed the female part. Woman means man with the womb.
Strong's H802. Isha. Isha.
Okay, so the word woman in Hebrew, it means woman, wife, female. Woman, opposite of man, wife. Woman married to a man, female of animals. Each and every pronoun. There is absolutely nothing here that says anything about a man with a womb. Okay? So when somebody says what a word means, you need to look it up yourself. Eve had as much authority as Adam did as long as they stayed together. Sensitivity of Heart, Kenneth Copeland Production, Publications, 1984. I just thought it was interesting because he does teach weird things and you wonder, where did he get this? Well, I think I'm answering that question right now.
I'm an enchanter.
Most importantly, the process by which one can achieve salvation. Sometimes a single tractate may cover several of these topics only in a couple of pages. The best theory we have as to the origins of the text is that they began as brief sentences, much like the wisdom literature of the indigenous Egyptian culture. And around these sentences grew a history of learned exposition. These discourses, as I mentioned earlier, were probably part of a system of graded lessons, for initiates passing higher and higher to what seems to have been the goal of the Hermetic philosophy, the salvific unification of the initiate's mind/soul with the divine mind or soul that is the ground of being itself.
The salvific unification of the initiate's mind/soul with the divine mind or soul that is the ground of being itself.
Indeed, the Corpus Hermeticum reminds me a bit of the Upanishads, both in style and in content. The worldview of the Hermetica is difficult to reconstruct, but let's give it a try. They appear to have held that an androgyne divine mind begat the cosmos, sometimes called the second god or logos, and in turn created human beings, which are seen as both divine and non-divine, given that they are both composed of perishable matter and imperishable soul or mind. This is basically a monistic worldview, although some antibody dualism does appear from time to time. The apparent task of the initiate is to ascend through the planetary spheres, through both ethical purity and mental contemplation, until reunited with the divine oneness, which seems in some sense possible while still in a physical body. This importantly separates the Hermetists from the Gnostics, who are typically held to be radical dualists, viewing the physical world as fundamentally evil and in need of escape. Importantly, the Hermetic practice was not only philosophical, but also sensible and empirical. One begins one's ascent by recognizing the beauty of creation as the work of the Creator, who is beauty itself. Since the divine is immanent to the cosmos is, by extension, eternal and filled with intelligences, gods, and daimons, who all act as part of the cosmic harmony through sympathetic relations. Evil is fundamentally thought to be a privation, insofar as the divine is the sole source of goodness. Death is thought to be simply physical dissolution, with life and mind being eternal. As the Corpus Hermeticum reminds us, the one is in all and all is in the one. In addition to these philosophical beliefs, it is also clear that they're what we would now call religious practices, such as the tradition of Egyptian statue animation, religious meals and kissing, the singing of hymns, and possible mantra-like chants to aid the initiate, some of which survive in the Corpus Hermeticum.
I'm on the website
This is also why
called Reasons for Jesus. This is by Stephen Bancarz. He used to be in the New Age, and now he's a Christian. This is about Thoth and the Emerald Tablets, a demon in sheep's clothing. This is all relating to Hermeticism. Thoth is arguably the most popular of all Egyptian gods, especially when it comes to modern occultism and the New Age movement. Thoth is depicted as being a bringing of knowledge and wisdom here to help us understand the mysteries of the universe and the self. Before we document that Thoth is a demon god beyond a shadow of a doubt, let's take a brief look at his attributes according to Egyptian mythology. Thoth is an Egyptian god of science, religion, philosophy, astrology, alchemy, and magic. Broadly speaking, he is most often understood as being the god of religion and the occult arts. He is also the judge of souls in the afterlife. He is even the supreme creator in some Egyptian myths. He is often depicted as having the head of an ibis or a baboon. He invented the rules of sacrifice and is the author of the Book of Thoth, which is a collection of magic spells and rituals so powerful that it had to be hidden away. In fact, according to mythology, he taught the goddess of magic, Isis, everything she knows. Thoth, this powerful god of magic, is credited with writing some of the spells in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and serves as the official scribe in the Hall of the Dead. Thoth has many different roles in Egyptian mythology, but his main claims to fame are that he is the primary god responsible for religious, spiritual knowledge, and magic. Hermes Trismegistus is a combination of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth, and is a name that is sometimes used interchangeable with Thoth. Because of this, the two gods were worshipped as one in what had been the temple of Thoth in Khinu, whatever, which the Greeks called Hermopolis. In this article, we are going to look at Thoth in his Egyptian form as he was known by them for hundreds, if not thousands of years before Greek mythology arose, and we'll save the topics of Hermeticism and the Hermetica for another article. There will be some crossover, however. Now that we have a little background information, let's take a deeper look into Thoth and see if he is as benevolent as the New Age and occult make him out to be. First, let's look at his most popular writings in the Emerald Tablets. The Emerald Tablets are a series of writings that were given to us by Thoth, which are apparently written on a material created through an alchemical process. Nobody has seen all of these tablets, only one exists in its original form, and the Emerald Tablets, as a textual body, are generally considered to be channeled material given to man by Thoth, whatever. They talk about everything from ancient history to alchemy to metaphysics, with the main objective being to teach us about the mysteries of the universe so we may become unified with the light. The Emerald Tablets act as a staple for those who wish to access higher consciousness and illuminate themselves with spiritual knowledge. But upon closer inspection, these tablets actually depict the existence of fallen angels, hell, and even Satan, in ways that glorify them and are central to what they teach. They couldn't parallel the biblical descriptions of powerful powers of darkness more closely if they tried. Fallen angels. In the first tablet, Thoth talks about a group of wise beings called the Children of Light. Quote, "Wise were we with the wisdom of the children of light who dwelt among us. Strong were we with the power drawn from the eternal fire." Unquote. Who are these children of light that get their power from the eternal fire? According to the second Emerald Tablet, Their story bears a striking similarity to the fallen angels as described in the Bible and the Book of Enoch. Quote, "Far in a past time, lost in the space-time, the children of light look down on the world, see the children of men in their bondage, bound by the force that came from beyond. Knew they that only by freedom from bondage could man ever rise from the earth to the sun. Down they descended and created bodies, taking the semblance of men as their own." Unquote. So these children of light made a descent down to earth and took on the appearance of man. In other words, they are not from this realm, but inhabited this realm for the purpose of teaching and instructing man, taking on bodies to do so. Let's look at a story of the fallen angels descending to earth in the book of Genesis 6:1-5. Quote, when man began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. The sons of God is a term used elsewhere in the Bible to refer to angels, and this passage communicates that these angels saw the daughters of man and took on flesh to reproduce with them, just as the children of light are said to see the children of men and took on their likeness. Jude 1:6 tells us of the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation. And 2 Peter 2:4 tells us, God has not spared these angels who sinned, but has kept them in chains in hell. So the Bible tells us that the angels looked down on human beings and fell to earth to fulfill lustful desires. And the Emerald Tablets tell us the children of light looked down on human beings and descended and took on human bodies. In the Emerald Tablets, these children of light not only mirror the story of the fallen angels, a rather obvious reference to hell is made in terms of the halls of Amenti, where Thoth lives. Deep in the earth's heart lies the halls of Amenti, far neath the islands of sunken Atlantis. Halls of the dead and halls of the living, bathed in the fire of the infinite all. Then grew in the great space before me flame after flame from the veil of the night. Uncounted millions leaped they before me, some flaming forth as flowers of fire. Others were that shed a dim radiance, flowing but faintly from out of the night. Some there were that faded swiftly, others that grew from a small spark of light, each surrounded by its dim veil of darkness, yet flaming with light that could never be quenched. So in the halls of Amenti, in the heart of the earth, is the halls of the dead and living, filled with souls burning with flames. Hell is referred to in the Bible as being the down in the nether parts of the earth, Ezekiel 31:16. The psalmist writes, "But those who seek to destroy my life shall go down into the depths of the earth." Ephesians 4:9 tells us Jesus descended into the lower regions of the earth, which some scholars believe to be a reference to the underworld after his death. While it's not certain that hell is literally in the center of the earth, the realm of the dead is associated with the lower regions of the earth at the very least. Hell itself is described as being a furnace of fire, eternal fire, fiery, full of flames, unquenchable fire, and a lake of fire that burns with brimstone. Hell is described as being an eternal place of fire in the realm of the dead, in the nether parts of the earth, and the halls of Amenti is referred to as an eternal place of fire and the hall of the dead, far neath the earth crust. This is where Thoth lives, according to the Emerald Tablets. Here are some more references to the Amenti being a place of eternal fire deep in the earth. I think I'm going to skip down to here. Satan in the Emerald Tablets. It goes on to call Amenti the underworld, where the great king sits upon his throne. This is the highest authority in all of Amenti. He is the chief ruler in a sense. Who is this great king? It says more about the highest authority in Amenti in the second tablet. First and most mighty sits the veiled presence, Lord of Lords, the infinite nine. Over the other from each the lords of the cycles. Why does Thoth call the king of Amenti the infinite nine? Probably because this number means something to the dark occult. Other possible references to Satan in the Emerald Tablets include the phrases son of the morning, which is what Lucifer is called in the Bible. Quote, how you are fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn, how you are cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low. Isaiah 4:12. We see this title sprinkled throughout the Emerald Tablets. Lords of the world is another term used to refer to spiritual powers in the Emerald Tablets. Jesus refers to Satan as being the ruler of this world 3 separate times, John 12:31, 14:30, and 16:11. And the Satanic Bible refers to Satan as the Lord of the earth. This is a title given to Satan in both the Bible and the Satanic Bible. Thoth has a few conversations with the He of Nine, including the following while he was in the halls of Amenti. I'm not reading that. My Christian ears hear the nine as saying, the wisdom and light of God in Christ come from the chaos of fire and hell. Is it really a stretch to call this satanic? It's a reversal of the Bible's classification of light coming from God and his domain only, and all things chaotic, and of the lower fires being of the powers of darkness. But the Emerald Tablets have to contain at least some wisdom, don't they? After all, what about all the references to light, wisdom, truth, and the all, or one? Luciferian philosophy. In Satanism and Luciferian philosophies, Lucifer is thought to be the bringer and bearer of light. He is the one who teaches us spiritual liberation through enlightenment. In the Satanic Bible in particular, Lucifer is called the bringer of light and the morning star. Man is bound under the rules and principles of Yahweh, and Lucifer came to liberate mankind from this bondage. This could very well play into what we read earlier in Tablet 1, where it says that the children of light saw the children of men in their bondage, bound by the force that came from beyond. They descended to earth to free man through occult knowledge, just as Luciferians and theistic Satanists teach. As Satanist, Freemason, and founder of the Theosophical Society, Helena Blavatsky said on page 539 of Volume 2, her book, The Secret Doctrine, quote, Lucifer represents life, thought, progress, civilization, liberty, independence. Wow, it sounds like America. Lucifer is the Logos, the serpent, the savior, and it is Lucifer who is the God of our planet and the only God. And she continues on page 243, quote, in this case, it is but natural, even from the dead letter standpoint, to view Satan, the serpent of Genesis, as the real creator and benefactor, the father of spiritual mankind, for it is he who was the harbinger of light, bright, radiant Lucifer, who opened the eyes of the automaton created by Jehovah, as alleged, and he who was the first to whisper, in the day ye eat thereof, ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil, can only be regarded as the light of a savior. Unquote. Really? Lucifer freed man from bondage to Yahweh, and the fallen angels did this through teaching them occult arts, according to Enoch and Luciferian philosophy. The children of light freed man from bondage to the force that came from beyond, through imparting to them this occult wisdom. Below is a prayer that Thoth tells us to pray in Emerald Tablet 4, which is a textbook Luciferian prayer. And I am not going to read that. It sounds a little familiar. That's because for Luciferians, Satanists, enlightenment through forbidden knowledge is the ultimate goal. The basic Luciferian principles highlight truth, freedom of will, and worship of the inner self through contemplation, occultic practices, in prayers, magic, intellect, and understanding the mysteries. You may ascend past the boundaries of materialism and beyond the boundaries of religious suppression and become godlike. Lucifer, Satan, is thought to be the liberator of man and the holder of all mysteries, and bearer of cosmic light that will awaken us to self-actualization as divine beings. The deeper your understanding of the mysteries and the more time you dedicate to prayers, meditations, and rituals, the more godlike you will become until you reach unity with the light and become immortal. This is the core essence of the teachings of the Emerald Tablets and can be found in any Luciferian school of thought. Quote, conclude us receivers of your mysteries, for why, O Lord and Master, is the All One? That's the Satanic Bible, page 186. With Luciferian philosophy and references to fallen angels, hell, and Satan present within the Emerald Tablets, we need to start questioning the real identity of Thoth. Let's take a deeper look into things. Thoth and modern Satanism. Not only do the Emerald Tablets glorify the fallen angels, Satan, Luciferianism, and hell, Thoth is well known within Satanism to be a demon god. According to the Joy of Satan Ministries website, which I won't be hyperlinking, Thoth is one of the most active demons and is crowned prince in hell. Thoth, also known as Hermes in Greek, Mercury, Roman, Tahuti, Ningzida, and Quetzalcoatl, Central America. And the zodiac sign is Gemini. Oh no. The above information was dictated from Thoth personally. Thoth is a very high-ranking and important demon. He is one of the 7 sons of Satan. He is the most brilliant and intellectual of the gods. He is very likable, extremely charismatic, and friendly. He is the busiest of all the demons, and it can be difficult to get him to appear in a summoning unless one is of importance to him. This is coming from a high priestess in the Church of Satan who claims to have been in contact with Thoth and personally. Oh boy. Thoth is even mentioned in the Satanic Bible. On page 144 of the Satanic Bible, it gives you a passage to recite to invoke demons from the pit of hell to come forth and manifest desires in your life. Oh, these infernal spirits are literal beings that theistic Satanists invoke through ritual, prayer, and magic. It proceeds to list all of the possible infernal names you can choose from, some being very well-known demons. In that list on page 146 is Thoth, the Egyptian god of magic. Magic is something practiced by Satanists, sometimes involving blood rituals and summoning of demons such as Thoth. They even liken the Egyptian god Set to Satan and worship him as such. Satanist and the founder of the School of Theosophy, Helena Blavatsky, sums up Thoth as follows. Hermes, the god of wisdom, called also Thoth, Tat, Set, and Satan, and that he was. Furthermore, when viewed under his bad aspect, Typhon, the Egyptian Satan, who was also Set, and that's Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, Isis Unveiled, Volume 1. Oy. Aleister Crowley, Thoth, and Magic. Someone obsessed with Egyptian magic was 33rd degree Freemason and Satanist Aleister Crowley. He referred to himself as the Beast 666 and once said, I was not content to just believe in Satan, I wanted to be his chief of staff. He was a famous occultist and magician who was heavily influenced by Thoth and Egyptian mythology. He openly admitted making blood sacrifices to demons and said, for nearly all the purposes relating to magic, human sacrifice is the best. Okay, I'm going to skip to the end now. Thoth and human sacrifice. Yes, he likes that. In conclusion, but it's no secret that Thoth is a demon. He is known as a high-ranking demon and is conjured up by Satanists and is mentioned by name in satanic magic books. He is mentioned as a demon of Satan in the Satanic Bible, and the pseudo-Satanist Aleister Crowley dedicated a full book and tarot card deck to him. Not to mention the cultures he apparently helped start, according to legends passed around in the occult, all ritually practiced human sacrifice under his overseership. This is because Thoth, as a demon god of ritual magic and the afterlife, gains power from human sacrifice and ultimately wants all souls to be led into the halls of Amenti in the eternal flames in the center of the earth. He is a demon who wants souls to be led to hell, away from Christ, away from the God of heaven and earth who dwells in inapproachable light. I'll let Thoth close off this article and make his departure back to the pit of darkness from which he came. Quote, "Now I depart from ye into darkness, now go I into the halls of Amenti." Unquote. Why am I even sharing this with you? This is the root of Hermeticism, which is the root of Freemasonry and Theosophy and Rosicrucianism and all these other secret societies, and it connects to the New Age, and the New Age is in the church, so that's why. And I know this is kind of a dark subject, but in a weird way, I find it fascinating and also kind of faith-building that what is actually currently happening with the New Age in the church and all that stuff, if you trace it all the way back, it goes all the way back to ancient Egypt and I guess Babylon too. The original spiritual enemy force that God dealt with all the way back in the book of Exodus. Meanwhile, back in the book of Acts, people were coming to Christ and burning their magical books in the fire. But today, we see these same teachings that they were probably burning in the fire right in our church with Kenneth Copeland, the NAR, the emerging church, the woke church, etc., etc.
Also, many of those who were now believers came confessing and divulging their practices, and a number of those who had practiced magic arts brought their books together and burned them in the sight of all, and they counted the value of them and found it came to 50,000 pieces of silver. So the word of the Lord continued to increase and prevail mightily.
They're coming here. 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 They're coming here.
Run.
There's just one name that can keep you out of hell, and it's the name of Jesus. The name of Jesus.